Hacks fans, this was a big week for us. We play the number one team in the land, Ball, and the California Clobbopus. Anyways, big threats all around. He's the rain team. I've been looking at his team since the draft and trying to figure out how the heck am I going to deal with his insane speed and power. So let's take a look at the matchup. So here's the matchup. Again, Ball's team is very, very threatening. Okay, threat. I mean, nasty plot threat. Silvally, I think, is a huge threat. Inteleon's super fast. Barraskewda's super fast. All these mons can do a ton of damage. And then he's got a little spinner, and he's got a bunch of hazard setters. So he's gonna set up those hazards, and he's just gonna go to town with us. And of course, he's gonna bring Pelipper. He's gonna bring Ferrothorn. He always does every single week. And then I figured he'd bring one of his water sweepers. I didn't think I'd see both. And then I thought Inteleon had a good matchup with its coverage and its speed. But Sorbs did not think it was a good matchup. And so I wound up not bringing Inteleon. Or not thinking he'd bring Inteleon because I wound up running screens on Grimmsnarl. But at the last second, I got rid of Light Screen because I felt like his physical threats were a bigger deal than his special ones. So again, looking at his team, he only got one spinner, and if he brings Hitmonchan, that's big time. Like, we want him to bring Hitmonchan or Garbodor because that way we don't have to deal with some of his threats because he has a ton of them. Initially, looking at the matchup, of course, a fast electric type against Rain is usually pretty good. But Jolteon doesn't have any coverage and can't really beat Ferrothorn. So I experimented with a few, like a Yawn set. And then I was also a little bit worried about Diggersby and how I was going to beat the Diggersby with Jolteon. And I did have Weather Ball as an option for Jolteon to use his own Rain against him. But you'll see what I decided to do. I decided to leave Jolteon at home, which may seem crazy. The past 2 weeks, I honestly probably should have brought Jolteon. But that's all right. We'll save him probably for the playoffs and bring him later, as Jolteon has been a really impact player for me. I don't know why I'm leaving him on the bench. But who was a huge impact player is Drampa. And I think Drampa, with its Cloud 9 ability, being able to ignore the effects of Rain will be very, very helpful, especially in taking care of Ferrothorn. Because even under Rain, the Rain cannot protect Ferrothorn from a fire attack. And so I'm able to get Drampa in and do as much damage as I possibly can. But regardless, I was looking at Drampa. I like Drampa. I like Glossopod for revenge killing, like everything. I thought screens were nice against his hyper offense. I had to bring Claydol because I always bring Claydol. And then Toxicroak is a new addition. His name is Eater, Eater, and basically all that means is it is the liquid substance that is the origin of all living things, but it's extremely poisonous at the same time. So pretty cool in Norse mythology. Definitely wanted to give that a little bit of a shout out for our boy Toxicroak, who's a big threat. Love him. Let's see. So with that, we also have Arcanine. I did have on the team for a while, as it gets really good coverage and still hits pretty hard with its fire type moves, but it's just hard to bring it when he has 4 water types on his team that could possibly come to the team. All right, let's get to the team. Inside the team builder, Grimmsnarl's role is to set up reflect so I don't get hit by physical moves, as most of his team is physically offensive. I did have light screen for a while, but then I decided that hitting an option to hit Ferrothorn was really, really nice to have, as well as some priority in Sucker Punch. I knew that Sucker Punch could probably come down to a couple 50-50s, as I did predict that Ball would bring sub, as a lot of my team does get Sucker Punch or some type of priority like that. But we'll see how it works out in the game. Glossopod, great member of the team. Hindsight, could have made it a little more bulkier, as it does take a ton of hits from the opponent's team. But it's our main revenge killer, as it doesn't need any speed, as first impression is just going to smack things. Close combat was for Ferrothorn. Drampa, my beast, went with the throat spray set. Hyper Voice, Dragon Pulse, Fire Blast, Substitute. I'm gonna the goal is to get Drampa in on the Ferrothorn and then go for a substitute. And then the Cloud 9 is a big ability because it makes sure that I can use fire moves in the rain without taking any without fire moves getting weakened at all. So I'm able to OHKO Ferrothorn even if it's max Spadef with Fire Blast. And that's the reason to go for Fire Blast as opposed to Flamethrower. Mew with Colbur Berry because I never bring any other item other than Colbur Berry. And a lot of his mons had dark coverage. In hindsight, I guess I could have brought a Citrus, would have been better. But Volt Switch was the idea to gain momentum early in the game on his Pelipper, and then hopefully get some spikes up if I had free turns. Claydol is an interesting set, like basically no attacks. Being able to trick room and then hopefully teleport. And teleport is negative priority. So if I can teleport, I would be able to get in Drampa safely into the battlefield, which would be incredible. And then my win condition would be my Toad, which had Sword Stance, Drain Punch, Sucker Punch, and Thunder Punch. All big threats and good coverage to hit the opposing team. And so let's dive into the battle. Oop, there we go. So I go Mew first, and I quickly select Volt Switch as I know that's what I want to do. And he makes a great play. He goes into Diggersby. This is where I completely get surprised by what's going on. I realize that he's not Choice Guard, but I do 19%. That's insane. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's AV, and he's max HP, and he's max Spadef, and he's sassy. Like, wow. Or whatever positive special defense thing that he had to pick. Like, unbelievable that I do that little damage. But he needed an answer to Drampa, and that was it. That was smart of him. So regardless, U-turn again works great on my team, hits pretty much everybody. Drills Mew, and then he gets in the big threat Barraskewda. He goes for a substitute because he has substitute on like every one of his mons. My first impression to get him out of it. And here I know I'm going to force a switch, so I'm able to go for the spikes. He brings in Ferrothorn, and he will wind up getting his own spikes as well, but I will get Drampa in. And here's where I go for the sub. He brings in Diggersby. I wind up only taking 25% out of the deal, but I'm only able to deal 25% to him. Spikes came up clutch and weakening the Diggersby, but it just made it difficult. U-turn, great play by him. Again, great play. I could have subbed there and been really aggressive, but there's really no reason to do that. And then I'm able to go into Toxicroak. So Toxicroak comes in a little risky, but I'm able to not take a ton of damage. Dreadnought is going to be faster than me with Swift Swim. I have to bring in Ymir. I'm hoping he would attack there, but he has sub 2. So very, very frustrating. He's able to not guess at all and able to basically take out Ymir instead. If he guessed wrong, I would still have Ymir, and I'd be able to switch in something on it. But oh well. Able to get up a Reflect with Grimmsnarl, which is always nice, but not necessary, not super needed. On this play, I decided to go for a sub because I was not expecting the Brick Break. The Brick Break breaks my Reflect, as well as obviously doing super effective damage. So that's just unfortunate. I wouldn't have been able to kill Diggersby, which is incredible that it can survive at 30% on a Drampa, max special attack Drampa. I would have, with my Dragon Pulse, I would only been able to do Dragon Pulse or Hyper Voice only does a max of 25%. So I'm not able to kill it. I decided to go for the sub, as I would have survived, would have had enough health to sub on a U-turn or a Earthquake or a Body Slam. But he's got the insane tech in the brick break and does a great job. Great brand on his part. Let's get back to the game. So I mess up there. I could have lowered the health a ton. He winds up going for U-turn, and I make a pretty aggressive play to bring in my Toad on his Ferrothorn. Here, I had a couple different plays. I could have SD'd. I could just Drain Punch right away, or I could switch into Claydol. Now, if I switch into Claydol, I'm able to get rid of the spike and potentially get Drampet back in, which would have been really, really nice. Or I could have set up a Trick Room with my Claydol. Unfortunately, I decided to kind of just play it safe. I should have SD'd. I 100% should have SD'd. I don't know what I was thinking. Just going for the Drain Punch. I was worried that he could do more damage, or he had something crazy where he was able to kill my Toxicroak, which I was wrong. I was just straight up wrong. I go for the Drain Punch, heals me. Should have SD'd there. I would have took 35%. I would have been sitting at about 50%, and then I would have O-code the Ferrothorn with Drain Punch, and I would have healed back to full health. So I would have been probably around 75% taking on the Inteleon, and my Sucker Punch would have killed the Inteleon, honestly, or it would have been very, very close. Just having that spike up would have been huge. The Sucker Punch would have killed the Inteleon, unless he had sub on Inteleon too, which maybe he did. But basically he would have had to bring in his Pelipper, and then I could go for the free, hopefully, Thunder Punch and take out the Pelipper. Or if he was really making plays, he could have gone to his Diggersby, which I knew I would have been faster than. Or I could just Sucker Punch against. So really should have SD'd there. I could have at least claimed another Pokemon, maybe more, but that's just the way it goes. Here we get crit. It's not the biggest deal in the world. It would have been nice to have a little more health. I go for the Reflect. No, I go for the Thunder Wave. And then I go for the Sucker Punch because I knew I could get away with that on the Diggersby since he's Assault Vest. I get Reflect up hoping to die, and then hopefully to get in, well, anything at this point, whether it be my Toad or whatever it may be, just not my Grimmsnarl. So here I go ahead and I lose the first. All right, I get the first prediction right, going for the superpower. I did not go for Thunder Wave because basically I'm an idiot. He was running Lumberry, so that is something to keep in mind. Because I didn't go for Thunder Wave, his idea was he'd tank the Thunder Wave and then he would sub up behind it. I'm able to take care of the sub, but I know he's in range of my Sucker Punch now, and so basically puts the game down to a 50-50 to see what Barraskewda can do. He goes for the attacking move, kills me. So I lose that 50-50. Then I bring in my other Sucker Puncher, and he goes to the attacking move once again. So unfortunately, we do not get the 50-50 once again, and we die to the Barraskewda sweep, taking out 5 of us. So great game by Ball. The brings for sub on 2 Mons, Brick Break on 2 Mons, and then his ability to U-turn around with these two. It was just too much, especially when he's able to get hazards up. And honestly, this was a major threat. Major threat as well. It didn't really get to do much because Barraskewda killed everything. But great game by Ball. His preparation was insane. Very happy with how he just dominated and just shows his dominance as the number 1 player in the league right now. So good luck to Ball moving forward. I can't wait to hopefully see him in the playoffs and get another chance at his team. I do have 1 transaction left, so might have to make a tiny adjustment to the squad, see if we can hopefully rise above. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.